Welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving into the world of incredible WWII tanks. From the icy plains of the Eastern Front to the mud and blood of Western Europe, we'll witness the evolution of warfare, the clash of ideologies, and the raw, visceral reality of armored combat. Imagine yourself a soldier on the front lines, 1942, the Eastern Front. You're in a Sherman, maybe a T-34, the mainstay of your army. Then, on the horizon, a shape emerges, something out of a nightmare. This, my friends, is no ordinary tank. This is the Tiger WWII. The Germans, always masters of engineering, outdid themselves with this one. Thick, sloped armor, nearly impenetrable by most Allied guns at the time. 100 millimeters of steel angled just so, to deflect even the luckiest shots. And the gun? The 88mm KWK-36. Originally designed as an anti-aircraft weapon, it found a new home on the Tiger, transforming it into a long-range predator. This wasn't just a cannon, it was a sniper rifle in a world of blunt instruments. Stories abound of Tigers holding off entire companies of enemy tanks, the ground littered with burning wreckage. The psychological impact was devastating. Imagine being an Allied tanker, seeing your comrades obliterated, your own shots bouncing harmlessly off the Tiger's hide. But the Tiger WWII, in its prime, was a force of nature, a legend whispered in hushed tones, a testament to the raw power that technology could unleash on the battlefield. The American M4 Sherman, not the biggest, not the baddest, certainly not the most feared, but when it came to sheer numbers, to sheer presence on the battlefield, nothing else came close. The Sherman wasn't just a tank, it was the embodiment of American industrial might. From the hedgerows of Normandy to the burning sands of North Africa, the Sherman was there, churning out of factories by the tens of thousands, a mechanical tide that threatened to drown the Axis war machine. Were there weaknesses? Of course. The armor, while decent, couldn't match the German heavies. The 75mm gun, while effective against most targets, struggled against the likes of the Tiger and Panther. But the Sherman had something else going for it: adaptability. It could be modified for a bewildering array of roles, from tank destroyer to flamethrower platform to recovery vehicle. It was the workhorse, the backbone, the symbol of Allied determination. Picture this: 1941 Operation Barbarossa. Hitler's armies, seemingly invincible, are surging across the Russian steppes. The Red Army is reeling, desperate for any advantage, and then, on the horizon, a new kind of tank appears: the T-34. It was a revelation. Sloped armor, a design feature barely understood by the Germans at the time, caused their shells to glance off harmlessly. The wide tracks, perfect for navigating the treacherous Russian mud, left the German panzers bogged down and vulnerable. But its firepower, mobility, and sheer numbers gave the Soviets a fighting chance. And at the heart of that struggle, the T-34 would earn its place as a symbol of Soviet resilience, a testament to the indomitable spirit of a nation fighting for its very survival. If the Tiger was the terror, the embodiment of brute force, the Panther was something different. Sleek, deadly, a predator in every sense of the word. The Panther was Germany's answer to the T-34, a recognition that the battlefield had changed and that a new breed of tank was needed. It wasn't just about armor, though the Panther had plenty of that. It was about the combination of firepower, mobility, and protection, all blended together in a package that was arguably the most well-rounded tank of the war. The 75mm KWK-42 cannon was a fearsome weapon, capable of engaging enemy tanks at long range with pinpoint accuracy. The Panther's speed and agility allowed it to dictate the terms of engagement, flanking opponents, exploiting weaknesses, and disappearing before they could return fire. But when it worked, the Panther was a thing of beauty, a deadly ballet of steel and fire, a testament to German engineering at its finest. In the annals of armored warfare, the British Churchill tank stands out. It wasn't the fastest, it wasn't the most heavily armed, but it had a certain something, a bulldog tenacity that endeared it to its crews and struck fear into the hearts of its enemies. Picture the scene. North Africa, 1942. The British are desperately trying to hold back Rommel's Afrika Korps. The desert is an unforgiving battleground, and the German tanks seem to have the upper hand. Enter the Churchill. With its heavy armor and distinctive high-riding tracks, the Churchill was built for one thing: getting over obstacles and into the fight. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. The year is 1944. The tide of war is turning, but the fighting on the Eastern Front is as brutal as ever. The Germans, though on the back foot, are still a deadly foe, armed with powerful tanks like the Tiger and Panther. The Red Army needs a response, a counterpunch, a hammer blow to shatter the enemy lines. Enter the IS-2. This was no ordinary tank. This was a statement of intent, a symbol of Soviet might. Where the T-34 was about speed and maneuverability, the IS-2 was about raw power. It was designed to go toe-to-toe with the best the Germans could throw at it, and win. The 122mm D-25T gun was a monster, capable of reducing enemy tanks to rubble with a single shot. The armor, even thicker than the T-34S, could shrug off all but the most determined attacks. But in the hands of a skilled crew, it was a devastating weapon, a testament to the Soviet Union's determination to crush the Nazi war machine. We often think of World War II tanks in terms of titanic clashes between behemoths, but the conflict also had its share of unlikely heroes. Take the Matilda II, a British infantry tank that, despite its unassuming appearance, played a pivotal role in the early years of the war. It wasn't much to look at. Small, slow, armed with what seemed like a pea shooter compared to the guns of its contemporaries. But the Matilda II had one crucial advantage: armor. Lots and lots of armor. In the early days of the war, when anti-tank weapons were still relatively primitive, the Matilda II was practically invulnerable. German shells bounced harmlessly off its thick hide, earning it the nickname Queen of the Desert from awestruck British troops. But in the right circumstances, it could be a formidable opponent, a David holding its own against the Goliaths of the battlefield. By 1944, the limitations of the Sherman tank were becoming painfully obvious. The German big cats, the Tigers and Panthers, were outclassing their American counterparts in terms of firepower and protection. The Allies needed a response, a tank that could go toe-to-toe with the best the Germans could offer. Enter the M26 Pershing. The Pershing was a significant step up from the Sherman in every way. It boasted a powerful 90mm gun, capable of taking on the German heavies at range, and its sloped armor, inspired by the T-34, offered much-needed protection. The United States had finally entered the race for technological superiority in armored warfare. The British Comet tank, like a late arrival to a party that's already winding down, made its debut in the final months of World War II. But what a debut it was. The Comet was everything the earlier Cromwell tank should have been: fast, reliable, and packing a serious punch. Armed with a powerful 77mm gun, the Comet could hold its own against the best the Germans had to offer. Its Christie suspension system, a design feature borrowed from the Soviets, gave it excellent cross-country mobility. This was a tank designed for the kind of rapid, fluid warfare that had come to characterize the final battles in Europe. The year is 1941, and the Wehrmacht, fresh from its blitzkrieg victories in Poland and France, is surging across the Soviet border. Their confidence is high, their panzers seemingly unstoppable, but they're about to encounter something unexpected, a metal monolith that will shake them to their core, the KV-1. Imagine the scene. German tankers, accustomed to facing lightly armed Soviet tanks, encounter the KV-1 for the first time. Their shells bounce harmlessly off its thick armor, their anti-tank guns proving utterly useless. The KV-1, seemingly impervious to harm, advances relentlessly, its 76.2mm gun wreaking havoc. In those early days of the war, the KV-1 seemed invincible. It could withstand anything the Germans could throw at it, its firepower capable of dealing with even the heaviest German tanks. It was a symbol of Soviet defiance, a mechanical embodiment of the Red Army's determination to resist the Nazi invasion. But like all titans, the KV-1 had its weaknesses. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible 1-2 content. See you next time. We've only scratched the surface of these mechanical monsters, these steel titans that tore across the battlefields of World War II. Each one has a story to tell, a tale of innovation, of courage, of the brutal realities of war. But beyond the metal and the firepower, beyond the statistics and the technical specifications, lies the human element.